looks like there's some other goodies in there too. I believe there's a ½ gram in here. We will go through the tailings and see what we've got, if it misses any. This isn't quite a torture test. Just gotta see how this thing runs with some black poison in it. Got the material wetted up here. One big key thing, we're at 3 degrees. I saw a video Jason made about going over some of his products. We're at a 3-degree slope. I noticed since the printed material has quite a lot of oxygen inside of the plastic itself, I went ahead and added some jet dry because bubbles were like growing up out of the sluice, and that took care of that problem just a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and start sluicing this material and we'll see how it runs. You can already see some gold in here. It's flour gold dust. Some gold in here. And the material's making its way down the sluice. Let's zoom you guys out here so you guys can see the full flow of the sluice and how the material works down. Lots of black sands, lots of micro gold. Sheesh. Pretty cool. As the black sand lays on top of there, you see some of this gold fiddling down. But it's eventually stopped. Maybe I'll just feed it a little bit slower. This much at a time. Looks pretty cool running off there. That is a lot of black sand though. My hand's right in the way here. There we go. I see gold all the way down to 5 and 6, but it's really small amount, really small gold too. So. Another little scoopy doo. Little pebble in there, but that got skirted out. Shut it down. There's a huge line of gold up here. This is so fine, the gold is in this Flower Gold Wizards Smooth Water Mini Micro Gold Cleanup Sluice. Let's clean the sluice out and see what we got for gold, and then we'll go through our tailings and do the same. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pan these out. This is the sluice cons, and it's not much compared to what's left in the pan. I'd say maybe 4 or 5 tablespoons. And the sluice tailings, I might even just rerun them just for fun. I was thinking about grabbing a magnet to help myself with the panning, but I'll pan it a few times. This gold reminds me of 1 or 2 people's gold. First and foremost, Creed from 9 Finger Mining and his ball mill gold. That's exactly what this stuff looks like. Otherwise, the only other gold I've ever seen like this, in 4 or 5 years is Gold Nugget Sales. And Gold Nugget Sales isn't quite as triangular, if that makes sense, for micro gold. So I'm going with 9 Finger Mining as who this micro gold's from. And if Jason is getting this kind of stuff where he mines, dude, that's a nightmare. I'm sure it's similar to this, but his pieces look a little bit bigger when he goes out to the rivers and stuff, or the creeks and the beach. But yeah, it's some nightmare stuff, I'll tell you that much for sure. So, okay, let's go. All right, I decided to go with the Ortiz float. It's got the smaller riffles. Those XP pans that I have don't. Back to the time lapse. So after a bunch of panning, I've got that little bit of black sands and gold. And if you haven't checked out the video where I dry panned this material maybe a year or so ago, the black poison from Flower Gold Wizards, I've attempted the double black diamond from Gold Nugget Sales. That was a complete and utter fail. I didn't even get a quarter of the way through the bag before I quit. I won the Kinky Challenge a few years ago, 9 Finger Mining, dry panning, and I've done this dry panning. Well, I've dry panned quite a bit, just never really mentioned it. Those are kind of challenges. And by the way, at the beginning of the video, I think I mentioned this maybe as a half-gram bag. I'll have to look again, but I'm pretty sure it's a quarter-gram bag. I think it was like 30 bucks from Flower Gold Wizards. Check it out. There's the gold, some black sands. And I'm gonna go ahead and dry this stuff out, and I will dry pan it clean. That is the best way, in my opinion, to deal with this stuff. Sit it out here in the Arizona sun and let it dry up. Now for this behemoth, oh, by the way, I did bust out the magnet. That didn't do hardly anything. It's crazy beach sands. But yeah, look, I mean, this is gonna be intense. Where'd my XP pan go? Where'd my XP pan go? I'll go grab a pan and start panning these tailings out, and then I'll show you what I found in the tailings, if anything.
I surrender. Lay me down.
Now, on one of my more recent live streams, and I believe on one of Miller Prospecting's live streams, we were talking about dry panning, especially for this flower gold. So this is the sluice cons that I have from the Smooth Head Mini, and you can see how like this kind of is a way of
dry panning, and you work it back up, and see how the gold's staying up here. There's some bigger stuff coming.
That's not actually how I dry pan. So when I'm dry panning, and you see, you're getting a lot of the gold up here, but at some point it's gonna kind of all fall back down. The way I'm dry panning is, the way I learned about it, okay, Lolo. The way I learned about it was through experimentation, and then I've watched some videos of people doing this technique as well. I mean, you talk about like Jeff Williams, and mainly Two Toes, Gary. He does like a once a year cleanup of his fine gold because he's always finding nuggets and stuff like that, and he shows you how to do it. First you classify all the black sands, and then he takes a piece of paper, folds it in halves, and he does a blowing technique. I use a pan. So I'm stratifying this black sand and blowing right here, and the convection of the air blows off all this fine dust this way. And so it's pretty impossible to see over here, but I can see with my eyes. So I'll blow. And if you look, I just blew some. You can see some fine particulate and sand right in here. And that's what's going into the gold pan.
I'm watching you on the camera.
And depending on how the black sand and material is behaving, I'll change where I'm blowing on the pan to make it get out. And if you look in here, you can kind of see some black grit, and that's all the dust that's coming out of the pan. And I'm going real light. And this is how I've dry panned Kinky and, oh, Lolo, get that out of there. This is how I dry panned Kinky, Fallow Gold Wizards, and when I attempted the double black diamond. So I'm gonna get to dry panning, and I'll show you what the gold we get at the end is.
That's my house where I live.
That's the gold we're left with right there. And it's very clean. I forgot to mention in like the little dry panning technique, one, if your face sweat drips on there, you gotta dry back out. And any moisture in here will kill it. There's all the black sand and dust, see that there? And I don't really see any gold, maybe one or two specks I see, being honest here, maybe three, I see three maybe. But the one thing I didn't mention is you can keep it really flat on as far as this plane goes, but if you start seeing gold while you're blowing with the pressure that you're providing with breath starting to come up this way, you can tilt and continue to blow this way, and it makes it harder for that gold to make it over the lip. So you can keep it flat, but this material is extremely light. It's very fine beach sand, black sand stuff, and it doesn't take much energy to get it off the pan. So that's one of the benefits of this material for dry panning. You can dry pan anything. There's the gold. There's a little tiny piece of quartz right there. I can get that out of there with my finger. It's a little quartz crystal. But overall, this is pretty dang clean, and I might even take it over to the microscope and show you what it looks like under the camera. But let's look at what we got from the tailings. Here are the tailings black sands. I'm gonna dry pan them and get the gold out. And there is the super small amount of gold that we got from our tailings. Gonna weigh up what we recovered and see what we got. There's the gold. 3/4 gram guarantee. 2.75. Let's weigh up what we got from the tailings. There's a little bit of gold we found in the tailings. Couldn't even weigh up. I mean, you can't really complain about those results with that kind of gold. So this is pretty much as good as it gets when it comes to minus 120 flour gold. There we go. I'd say that's pretty close to 100% efficiency. Which flour gold wizards underestimates your expectations? If I recall right, you claim this, maybe 95%. I'd say you're a little bit undercutting yourself, brother. Right there, when it comes to micro gold, you've got it nailed. Heavy pants. # grassroots mining.